Okay, good evening. We will call this, or afternoon, sorry. We will call this regular meeting of the City Plan Commission to order. Today is Tuesday, June 17th. It is 4:48 PM. Let's go around and do a roll call, starting with Noel.
Noel Sanchez, Dave Caldwell,
Shayan Mandrigar, DPD staff.
Lev Simon, DPD staff.
Sharon Garner, legal counsel.
And I'm Michael Gazdaco, the chair. Next up, we will look at approving the minutes from the May 20th, 2025 meeting. I think you all saw the notes that were the revised set of meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Any edits, further discussion, or a motion to approve?
motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from May 20th, 2025, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes pass. Director's report. I'm assuming we're going to skip for this meeting, given that the director is not here today. So we wish Bob a wonderful evening off from this meeting. And we'll roll right into the first agenda item, which is a city council referral. It's referral number 3597, 22, 24, and 26 Desoto streets.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair, and we'll provide a quick introduction as the applicants make their way up. So this is our request to rezone 22, 24, and 26 Desoto Street. And while your petition only says 22 to 24, 22 and 24 are separate lots, as is 26 DeSoto Street, which has been added by the petitioner. So these are industrial buildings that are located in the R3 zone. They are located opposite the MMU. They have the MMU 75 zone right to the rear of them. And the applicant is requesting this rezoning in order to have those businesses conform to the underlying zoning. So I'm not sure if anyone's here on the petitioner's behalf. It was the petitioner's Councilman Vargas. Lev, do you know if he is on the Zoom? No.
It's not.
Okay, not in the room? All right, and not in the virtual room, I mean, yeah, okay. Well, then, maybe you could read the staff report.
Sure, and commissioners, as you can see, these are industrial buildings. They are located in the R3 zone, and the MMU 75 zone would be an appropriate zone, given that the future land use map says this area is intended for medium density residential up against business mixed use development. And just based on that and the fact that these uses have existed for a number of years, we feel that it would be appropriate to make a positive recommendation to the city council. However, in doing so, we would also ask that you make a note that the petition needs to be amended to have the correct lot numbers as well as addresses. And really quick, they're all on plat 33. Lot 343 is on 22 DeSoto. Lot 341 is 24 DeSoto. Lot 340 is 26 to 28 DeSoto Street. These will be rezoned to MMU 75.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any points of discussion, any clarifying questions?
I see the zoning map, and to see where the,
You're gonna pull up the
because you
GIS?
said it's next door to.
Yeah.
It's also right next to the new highway.
Larry, if you could pull that
Yeah.
up.
He'll pull up the GIS and share that. So we're looking at 343, 341, and 340. So those three, you see the MMU is the purple, correct?
That's right.
Okay. What about 342, the corner there? That'll just remain
Yeah,
That is a residential lot.
Oh, okay, so these are bringing these three lots into conformance with their existing uses with behind and right next door respectively.
Am I correct that the petitioner only owns 343 and 344?
The petitioner is the city council representative. I
Or
believe.
sorry, there's a single owner for 340.
341 and 343 have single ownership.
They have to, correct.
Okay, and the owner of 340 is in agreement.
Yeah,
He's, or your chief has been talked to.
yep, they would prefer that.
It should also be noted that lot 339, this little peninsula of MMU, was made to be this way during the recent comp plan update.
So this is more of a cleanup item, like maybe a missed rezoning that didn't happen during,
You might say that.
okay. Cause that's what it looks like to me. It looks like it makes sense and we should have probably caught this at that time, right? Okay. All right, it's a city council referral, so I'm not sure if we need to take public comment, but we will, out of an abundance of caution, so. This is a public hearing, we've heard the staff report. At this time, we will take public comment. If anyone here would wish to speak on this agenda item, please raise your hand or come forward. And anyone joining us in the virtual room, please raise your virtual hand in the middle bottom section of your screen, or press *9 if you are calling in.
Is there anyone in the Zoom?
There are
No one in the Zoom at all?
just us.
Okay, then I assume there is no public, and with that, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. This one's pretty cut and dry. And unless there's any other discussion, I'm willing to entertain a motion to give a positive recommendation for the rezoning of these lots.
I don't make the motion that we recommend approval of the proposed zone change to the city council, subject to the following condition: that the petition shall be amended at the hearing to include the correct address and lot numbers of all three subject lots: AP 33 lot 343-22 DeSoto Street, AP 33 lot 341-24 DeSoto Street, and AP 33 lot 340 26-28 DeSoto Street.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion passes, and we'll move right along to agenda item number 2, which is rezoning of 268 Carpenter Street.
For commissioners, and moving on. This is a request to rezone 268 Carpenter Street. And as you will see on the zoning map, this is a dot in an otherwise larger area of C2. And the subject lot, although it's zoned R3 and has a residence on it, it has its rear being used by the adjoining business, as you can see, for storage and parking and whatever else may be occurring on that site. So the petitioner is requesting a rezoning of the subject lot to C2 so that all the uses on that lot will be consistent with the underlying zoning. And subsequent to that, they are going to perform an administrative subdivision where the rear of the lot will go with the business, and the portion to the east of the subject lot will be merged with the house as an equivalent land swap. So I believe we have someone a representative from the petitioner, and they can tell you more about it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Enrico Scandio. I'm an attorney. I represent Mercado Ortiz, the petitioner. And as Joanne has,
Hang on one second. Can you speak right into the mic? Let's see if it's on.
hello?
Thank you.
As staff has reported to you, this is a proposal for your recommendation, seeking a favorable recommendation to the council with respect to this zone change. The uses of this property will remain exactly as they've been used by now for over 11 years, which is the rear portion of the residential piece of 268 Carpenter is proposed to be merged by an administrative subdivision into the adjoining land owned by the and used in the C2 zone, and the northeasterly portion of the C2 zone, which is owned by the Steel Tex Corporation, is going to be supposed to be swapped to and used exactly as it is for off-street parking for the residential use. Nothing is gonna change. I guess they've been doing this for a number of years. I know that the Mr. Ortiz became the owner in 2004, December. And since then, that's how this property has been used. So none of the uses are gonna change. It's just gonna finally convey the property as has been used for the past 11+ years, and probably before then as well.
So is the yellow house, this one right here, and then the lot that we see right
The
here?
lot right here is owned by Steel Tex, is gonna be
Yep.
conveyed to the yellow house, and then the
Okay.
rear portion where that fence is behind the yellow house,
Right, that's gonna be,
conveyed to Steel Tex.
Okay.
Part of that of the
has there been any discussion or any thought on adding impervious to these areas? It looks like it's 100% paved or building.
None whatsoever. No, and I think that was the reason to go to C2, because of the impervious issue.
As opposed to R3, which it is at, because you could do that.
There was also an issue with rear setback.
Oh, right, yeah. Right, because then the subdivision wouldn't be,
Yeah.
you'd need relief for the subdivision if you did that, okay.
Is it the same owner as the building that burned recently there?
Yes,
So all that property belongs to the same owner, including this one.
it does. It goes all the way to Westminster Street, all the way up to Carpenter Street.
Will the land that's being conveyed to the house to the side, will that be an easement that runs with the deed?
Excuse me?
Will that be an easement that runs with the deed for the
There'll
house?
be a deed of exchange once
Okay.
the administrative subdivision once the zoning is approved, once the administrative subdivision is approved, there'll be an exchange of deeds between the two owners.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, Joya, you wanna give us the staff report?
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And commissioners, as you can see on the zoning map, this is a small speck of R3 that's surrounded by C2. It's also borne out by the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, which shows this area as one where medium density residential uses are right up against neighborhood commercial development. So we feel that this rezoning would be consistent with the comprehensive plan, given the pattern that you see in the future land use map. And we don't foresee a negative impact, given that the uses will remain the same and no changes are expected. This would also be in conformance with section 101 of the zoning ordinance. So based on that, we recommend that you make a positive recommendation to the city council to approve the change.
Okay, thank you, Choya. This is a public hearing, so at this point, we will open up public comment. If there's anyone here in the room who would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand or come up front here. If you're joining us in the virtual room, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you are calling in. Still no occupants of the virtual room? Okay. And seeing no one in the physical room, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item at this time. Kind of wish there was some impervious, but I understand why they're doing it. You can't create an administrative subdivision by creating lots that don't comply, so. And it's all the way surrounded by C2, so it makes sense to change it to C2. So I guess I'd be in favor of a motion to support the rezoning to C2.
I second.
Oh.
Oh, we need to make.
Sorry,
a
sorry.
motion.
I make that motion.
So you'll. You'll make you're gonna making the motion to recommend approval of the proposed zone change to the city council?
Yeah, me.
Perfect. All right, we have a motion by Rachel. Do we have a second?
I will second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
and Miguel,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Best of luck, city council.
Okay, fine.
All right, moving along to agenda item number 3, 118 Silver Lake Avenue. This is a city council referral number 3600, rezoning of 118 Silver Lake.
Sure, and thanks, Mr. Chair. A quick introduction while the applicant makes their way up. So this is a request to rezone the subject lot, which has been used as an auto body business in the residential zone for a number of years. So it's currently zoned R3, and the applicant is requesting rezoning of the lot to C3 in order to allow for that auto body use to operate by right. And so I guess the applicants here, they can tell us a little bit about the history of the site and how this application came to be.
Dawn Olivieri, and I'm representing,
Can you pull the microphone closer? You have to speak right into it or people.
usually I'm too loud, sorry. Can you hear me now?
A little bit, pull it closer even. Speak right into it.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right. I'm representing the petitioner, and we're seeking also a favorable recommendation to the council for a change of use from R3 to, I believe, C3. I believe this used to be Silver Lake Auto, if I'm not mistaken, and so this use has pretty much been continuous since I think I represented them previously, since 2013. So we're asking more for a recognition of the way that the property is currently and has been used in the past. There were certain recommendations made to my client, which I've addressed with him, and I did speak to a representative from your office about one remaining issue, which is the canopy coverage requirement. And we're very anxious to accommodate that. My client is very interested in making himself a good neighbor. And we are going to contact, I think, the city forestry division for some advice on how to comply.
Okay, it's my understanding that you're here today because the subject property has a cease and desist for their current business, which is an illegal use. And at one time in the past 20 years or so, it was attempted to become a legal use and was denied, and still has been operating as an illegal use. So you're purporting that it's an existing use, but it's actually an existing illegal use that was asked for permission at one time, denied, and continued to operate as an illegal use, and now is being forced to stop unless this zone change happens. Is that correct?
That became painfully aware to me this afternoon, yes.
Okay. All right. I did drive by the site today, and even though there's an application in front of us, there was a vehicle parked on the sidewalk right in front of this location as well, which concerns me because one of the recommendations that the city had was that no vehicle should be parked on the sidewalk. So I just happened to drive by today and there was one there, which doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies that will be followed through if they're not following through right now.
I agree with you, and I spoke to my client about this, and I stressed to him the necessity that if we say something to you, and we ask for your recommendation, that we follow through on what we're promising. And after your drive-by, my client went back to his property and has addressed some of the issues that I pointed out to him. I didn't see any cars parked on the sidewalk, but I did see that one of the fences was in disrepair and it needed to be addressed. The dumpster was untidy, and I told him going forward, we need to be a good neighbor. And he's anxious to he acts like he's anxious to listen to me.
I would argue that if you have the petition in front of us and you're saying you're going to be a good neighbor, you should have already started to be a good neighbor. That's,
I agree with you, I agree.
I mean, you're here today and, you know, this is the condition that I saw today. I mean, it's,
I have some after pictures. I was retained yesterday and I did formally work with Silver Lake Auto. And I was not aware that they were not in compliance, but I'm not terribly surprised. However, my client is very, very anxious to learn how to be a good neighbor. When I told him the things that he needed to do immediately, he went back and did them, except for the tree planting. And was listening to my advice. And so I'm asking you to give him a chance. Yes, he does have a cease and desist order. You know, I'm not certain that he was totally aware that he wasn't in compliance. And so
Understood.
I've given him sort of the riot act. And I fully expect that since he's just down the street from me, he will be paying more attention.
Has the city council person in this area commented on this? Have we heard from? Oh, hi. Well, how are you? We'll wait till public comment comes, then we'll bring you up. Yes. Yes, thank you. All right, so that's good. We'll hear,
My neighbor as well.
we'll hear straight from the council person's mouth,
Yeah, right.
and I won't ask you to convey any sentiment. All right, any other questions of the applicant?
How long has the structure been there?
Oh, that's a good question.
2013, I'm positive of, I'm not sure how far behind.
I found a photo of the building there in 2009, but clearly it seems like it wasn't new at
I mean,
that time.
it looks like a pre-2000 structure to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been built anytime between like 1970 and
Right.
2000 in my mind.
50.
Maybe even earlier.
We're anxious to be a good neighbor.
Any other questions of the applicant?
Do we have, like, what would the tree plan look like? Do we know what would be required?
We don't, this is a city council referral, so we are just advising the city council who will take the action. So if we put in a recommendation, they can listen to the recommendation, they can totally discount our recommendation. But, you know, the process of a rezoning is that they get the application and then it comes to the city plan commission for review and as the planning professionals.
Okay.
I was told we should plant 15% of the property with canopy, and we're going to follow through on that.
You'll lose a couple parking spaces. Yeah, it's quite possible.
You don't know about this?
Can't plant on the sidewalk.
No.
Yes, and you'll lose your parking.
The C3 seems to be pretty intense for that
I
area.
That's what's needed for it.
The allowed use.
I know that's what was needed for the use, but is there any other C3?
So can you?
There's
bring this
residential
map
to
again?
one side and
Yes, if
looks
you
like
look at the
commercial on
zoning
the
map,
other side.
you will see that,
There's a C3 on the bottom.
right, the red is C3 and it's directly opposite the residential zone.
What is that
That's a-
carve out there? Where?
Over there is, that
Yeah.
actually, I think that was the one that we took action on or we recommended. That came before us about a year and a half ago, for a similar, use. It was an underlying non-conforming use that wanted to be in conformance. I don't remember if they had a cease and desist at the same time as well,
But it was an auto body.
but it was an auto body.
business.
What is the use on the corner lot, like the acute corner?
That was a
I believe that's
residential.
Residential.
Yeah. Everything surrounding this property except across the street is residential.
Seems like it wants to be part of it, but you should.
Right.
No, just that corner house is in a difficult position.
It is.
If it remained R3 or residential and the site had different use, what is possible then?
I'm
Given-
sorry.
What would be, if this was denied by the city council, what could this remain as an R3 use? Obviously not auto body or repair,
Residential, three-family,
Okay,
yeah, or neighborhood commercial.
yeah.
right, okay.
That's really it.
Are there concerns with like brown site issues at an auto body site or?
That's not something we would typically
Yeah.
look at.
Okay.
But that'll be more fun.
Sure.
For anyone who purchased the property, wanted to develop it,
Mhm.
things like that, that would be their
Okay.
concern.
I can certainly look into that if that's.
Just curious.
No. Okay, let's hear the staff report and then, we'll open up public comment.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And as you've seen, this area is one where you do see heavy commercial uses, particularly auto body businesses, and the C3 zone right up against the residential zone. And this is borne out by the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, which outlines this area as one that's intended for general commercial mixed use as well as medium density residential up against each other. Now, while this use has operated on the site for a number of years, we do feel that there are some improvements that could be made to better integrate it into the area as well as buffer it from neighboring uses. So while this would be in conformance with the comprehensive plan, we do think that there are some steps that could be taken to improve the site. So one would be to avoid parking on the sidewalk just for the benefit of pedestrians. And also they would need to meet the canopy coverage requirement. As you can see, it's totally paved with no kind of planting. However, we should note that the applicant does have the option of meeting the canopy coverage requirement off-site under the supervision of the city forester. And that's something that they could work with to determine appropriate planting spots in the sidewalk. And also, auto body uses are required to be screened from neighboring uses, so we're not sure of the extent of the screening around the site, but if they could ensure that a fence that's at least 5 feet be installed all around the site to buffer it from neighboring uses, that would go a long way to integrate it and make it more just, that's a nice word, in relation to the neighboring residences. So if the CPC finds that those steps would bring it into closer conformance with section 101 of the zoning ordinance, we would be open to granting that change. So based on that, we would recommend that you make a positive recommendation to the city council to approve the change, subject to the condition that the applicant demonstrates steps that would improve the site and make it more, and basically buffer it from the neighboring residential uses. And so those include prohibition of parking on the sidewalk, meeting the canopy coverage requirement, as trash removal, as well as buffering the site from neighboring properties. And we should also know that you do have the option of requiring that the applicant present what's called a zoning certificate of compliance, which would indicate that they've taken all these steps and have the zone change be subject to submission of that certificate. And that's issued by DIS.
Okay, thank you very much. We have the staff report. So now we will open the public comment portion of this agenda item, and we will call Councilwoman Vargas up to speak first. You may go ahead and sit down. We may call you back up for further questions at the end. Thank you. And anyone on deck who would like to speak on this agenda item, If you're here in the physical room, please make your way forward. And if you're joining us in the virtual room, please raise your virtual hand or press star 9 if you're calling in. Good evening, Councilman.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to help my community. That business have for a long time. I hear we can have it back and forth for the zoning or change. I know the issues with the sidewalk, but see you see on the screen, okay, inside it have a plenty space to put in the car inside. So that issue we can correct that, and then we can go forward for this. So you see inside, see, you have plenty of space to can put it inside, not outside, so we can get that solution for this. And also I support the business in my area because for me it's the factory can we have it. See that person, cause when they're doing the right thing, when he started, so he say, Anna, what I need to do? Okay, you need to go to the city clear. What do you need to do the next? So that's the reason we're here, we're doing the right thing. We don't want to go and doing some business in my area to cannot have all the equipment, all the things that we can need is. So when I say to them, I say, we need to go forward to do it test by test. But the only thing I not really not like is send the letter to close the business. When they close the business and we had this process, and this process is hard because we have to go, often, another course, and then he had to make some money. Right now, he asked for the lawyer, so he had to pay the lawyer, but see, he not making the money or the business. So we had to give it a little standards until say yes or no, because that business have a long time. So now he take it, he say, I need to do the right thing. Sonny Chen, what I need to do. So for this, for sidewalk, we can take care of that because it has space in the area. That's my support for my community to have a business, because business make it improve, give another one person to food on the table, and then we can go forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Just
You're
a point of clarification. We don't send any letters out. We're the City Plan Commission. That's
I know,
Department
But
of
this
Inspections and
area, but
Standards.
he received some letter for the city.
Yeah.
Close for the business. So that's all. Okay, and I'm sorry, I introduced myself, Anna Vargas, for City Councilwoman, and there were 7. So if you see any question or anything, I'm here support my
So
community.
you're supportive of this zone change and,
Correct. That's why I'm here.
okay.
Mhm.
Are you also supportive of the recommendations that are made in the staff report to make the property more conducive to a good neighbor to the residential parcels surrounding it?
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Um,
And you mentioned another street, the Framingham too. I see the pictures, can you say? Because we had to,
that one, yeah, that was rezoned, I believe it was about a year and a half ago. That was in front of
yeah,
us.
we had to spend time,
Yeah.
because we do everything together, so. I would like it,
I did notice that there were cars parked in front of this one too, then they said they weren't going to do that either. I
yeah,
drove by today,
yeah, okay.
just
But-
so you know.
No, I know, because I always go around for my area.
Was
All
this
right.
particular property, sorry, required to have screening or buffering put up or tree planting done?
I'm not sure what the final city council action was on that.
But it is a requirement. The zoning ordinance does require auto body uses to be screened from residential.
Okay.
And did you say that they're not allowed to operate right now?
Yeah, that's what he mentioned, he received some letter, it's not operating.
So he was operating today?
But we talk about give you a chance to pay the lawyer to make some money, and then we can go forward, because how he supports it is only the business support, the family.
Okay,
Okay,
all right. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Lev, do we have anyone else in the audience? Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If the city council denies this zone change, then technically, then what happens in that scenario?
That's a good question. I don't know. They've gotten a cease and desist from the city to operate. What would happen if this application, I mean, obviously, Councilwoman Vargas is in support of it, so it's probably going to pass.
That's
We don't
right,
know.
Yeah.
What would happen? Would the city like file an injunction so that it, like a,
Probably file a violation
a municipal court?
Yeah.
I guess.
So a lot more process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Answer, yeah. More process. I mean, I think I feel bad for these guys because I don't think they were the original applicants the last time when it was denied. I think they took over the business, so I'm not,
Well, that was my question, like, when was the denial issued and?
probably 20 years ago.
From the zoning board?
Yeah.
I believe it was 1987.
No, more than.
Memory serves me correct.
Okay.
It's been operating illegally since. So this is well before I think this current occupant
Sure.
has been using the lot as such.
My concern is that it just creeps the zone and the residential area behind it is, you know, I mean, it's not like the one that we approved earlier in Olneyville. That's all gonna become industrial or something at some point.
I mean, so there was this one right there.
Right, but then the whole neighborhood back here and the residential on the corner and across.
I mean, it's all surrounded by residential. It's
Right. And so there's a pretty good delineation of it right now, so what we approved last year of the zoning.
technically, we didn't approve it. The city council did.
Well, we recommend it. Remember
Yeah,
I would, I mean, I know,
I mean, I don't know that
I'm not against business, but.
I'm not either, and I feel bad for the
but I
current
feel like
occupant.
it Would be opening up that whole area to not being changed.
Yeah, I feel that the difference is this is sort of a unique property. It's just this use has been existing for a while versus,
Illegally.
yeah,
But it's
you know, as opposed to changing one of those other properties to something heavy industrial.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I would be inclined to leave it like it is, to make a recommendation. I know that's not.
Yeah, I mean,
Great for the business.
With the legal use, or you mean as
Well,
a,
I don't know about the use. I mean, I know about the use, right? And
oh, you mean the
I
zoning?
feel for it, but
Yeah.
but someday we'd hold the line somewhere.
Is there a middle avenue where it's stays in place, it's non-conforming, and then if the business, no, there's no?
No, it's already been given a violation, so it can't continue to operate
Okay.
this way. So no, that's why they're here.
I guess my counter argument to Noel is that this corner in particular, and maybe the one across that's also an acute corner, really don't
That doesn't belong
lend
as
themselves
residential, yeah.
to residential. I mean, it's sort of funny that there's a residential lot
Yeah.
right on that corner.
I would agree. It's an odd shaped lot. It's not the easiest.
I mean, it doesn't look crazy, but it
Right. Yeah, and it's not dissimilar to surrounding areas. It's just directly abutting properties.
yeah.
What denotes
I believe the house on
a
the other
buffer?
corner is pretty nice
Is it
too.
like a
It'd be
fence
fencing.
can be chain link though, and there's no
Well,
visual.
so I was, yeah,
Well, what the ordinance says is that the side and rear lot lines of a vehicle repair facility shall be screened with a solid wall or fence.
Okay, so it can't be chain link.
Correct.
I mean, it could be with privacy slats.
Sure.
Technically, that would meet the definition,
Okay,
or a stockade fence.
that's the most affordable
Yeah.
option. Okay.
What other uses would be permitted under C3?
Everything.
Yeah, if you
We
would,
can restrict it, right?
yeah, if you would like, that is an option before you could, in your recommendation, restrict it to the current use.
Oh, that would
And
be,
could we recommend that it not go any farther, like, once the business is no longer there?
That would be a special use
Refer
permit.
back
This
to
is a
what-
zone change that goes with the
Goes back
property.
to the law.
And there's no way to give a special use permit in an R3. Correct.
Correct.
And so if we do it, it's not undoable. It is undoable.
It isn't, well, I mean, yeah, you're changing the underlying zoning. That's the only way to make it a compliant lot.
But we can,
But you can restrict, or you could do a cliff note that's restricted to its current use, yes.
Maybe those parking lot striping in there? Just watching how they park the cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a way to get to what I was asking about with like a special use.
Yeah, there's no special use permit, in an R3, but you
Right.
could suggest to the city council, I mean, if we were to forward a proposed recommendation, it would be exactly what this says. Instead of a period, at the end of neighboring properties, it would be with a comma, with landscaping and solid fence appropriate for the residential abutting parcels. Or sorry, for this use abutting residential parcels. I would add that, a zoning certificate of compliance from DIS should be acquired before the zone change takes effect. And there should be a cliff note to restrict it to its current auto use.
I guess I kind of question the restricting it to its current use, because if we're allowing auto there, I can imagine a lot of other businesses that could exist and be fine, yeah, here, so it seems a little bit funny to me. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, because I understand the desire to restrict it to this business, and when this business, or if and when this business doesn't exist, it goes back, but.
And or mixed.
What
use.
are,
Well,
Yeah.
the use is vehicle repair and service. They're asking for zone change, basically to legalize what's occurring on the lot to fall under vehicle repair and service.
Right, I understand that. I just think restricting our, you know,
but there's, like, if you
Yeah.
look at the use tables, C3 also, under a special use permit, they could be a hybrid cannabis retailer or cultivator. They could be industrial. They could be, light entertainment ancillary use or venue with a special use permit. I mean, this is pretty much the most
Yeah.
permissive zone,
Yeah.
so I worry about not restricting it in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form, given the residential enclave that's
I
directly
agree.
surrounding it.
I also know there's 2 curb cuts on Farmington Street, on that lot right there by the 56. Was that separate lots at some point?
Uh,
Cause there's an entrance, from.
On
Farmington
50s,
You could cut through.
On Silver Lake or on Farmington?
yeah,
Ave.
so that lot number seems pretty low, 409. So I believe that may have just been the way it was platted.
Yeah,
There's
'cause-
2 curb cuts on Farmington.
Well, there's that one and then one that's closed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Which is
right.
unusual for, and then if you have another curb cut on the other side. That's the 3rd curb cut on one property, which is,
you can have a curb cut per frontage, within 100 feet. These 2 curb cuts right next to each other, would not be permitted today, however, on the same frontage.
So if they were to get a zoning certificate of compliance, they'd need to rectify that as well, right?
Not necessarily. This, might be considered an existing condition.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think, I go back to my proposed motion, if we were to forward anything, I'd be comfortable with that.
Can we get some clarity on what was the PO, the plan of action that was being required for approval? Was that to the city council, or were they presenting that before? A
Well-
recommendation could be made, that wouldn't make sense.
Any of these restrictions would have to be undertaken by the city council.
So we're asking the city council to ask for plan of action.
Yeah,
Okay,
which would, with specific
right,
criteria that they should include.
okay.
And would that be enforceable before the change is granted?
That's what we'd recommend.
Yeah, but so the certificate of compliance, and we're recommending that they apply for it for the canopy coverage requirement and the screening. So they would need to present that certificate to show that they've come into conformance with those conditions.
Before the zone change takes effect.
How would they get a permit for all? Because it's non-conforming, it's a violation.
I don't know that you'd need a permit to install some trees and some fencing.
Correct.
No, I'm sorry, prior to that.
That's what the certificate of
Most
compliance
fences.
would indicate.
It's not
Which is
retaining
that
wall.
they have come into conformance with the
Here.
condition.
Yeah.
And positive or negative, this is a recommendation, so the city council will still take upon.
Correct.
This issue, so by having our recommendations in place, at least there'll be considerations for them to.
Yeah, I mean,
to look at.
they could listen to our recommendation, they
Right.
could discount our recommendation, they could take some of it and not all of it, I mean.
Good opportunity to add that in.
But yeah, I think I would feel comfortable, knowing that the city council person from this ward is supportive, adding in these recommendations to them to follow through when they hear it at their city council hearings.
There's no way to have it, could it revert back to R3 if this business? No, there's no way to do that, okay.
Come back to the board.
Always goes the other way.
Always.
Yeah,
Doesn't
Yeah.
go back to our.
yeah.
I feel,
mean,
I'm
there's no
not comfortable
automatic,
doing that.
yeah.
No, it's gonna run with the land, not the
Yeah.
use, like
Yeah.
a special use permit can be attached to
Yeah.
the use and the person. The underlying zoning goes with the property.
Ready for a motion on this? All right. So I'm gonna make the motion. We recommend approval of the proposed zone change, subject to the applicant demonstrating a plan of action that would reduce the effects of the business on the surrounding property. As discussed, these would include prohibition of parking on the sidewalk, meeting the canopy coverage requirement, trash movement, buffering the site from neighboring properties, and the properties would be restricted to its current use. Does that sound right?
Can I offer an amendment or an addition that a zoning certificate of compliance is required from DIS prior to the zone change taking action? Taking full.
And also if you could add that the certificate shall be for meeting the canopy coverage requirement and screening specifically.
You can say
Yeah,
it's still
that too.
moved.
And also you would like to restrict the use of the site to vehicle repair and service.
Correct.
Current use.
Yeah, that's what it is, and the zoning table says.
So the zoning certificate compliance would be for compliance with the C3 requirement,
Well, the certificate is,
or compliance with just the things we've listed.
right,
Okay.
right, because that's what it's for, to basically show that they've done the work
Yeah.
and it can be verified by zoning.
By the department.
Okay, so we have a modified, you have that
Yeah.
fairly,
Yeah.
it's a recommendation, so it's not a formal decision, so it's a little easier. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second,
All right, we'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel,
I vote against it.
Dave,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Miguel,
aye.
and I vote aye. Best of luck. And I believe that is the last agenda item. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you very much. See you next month.
Like.